Hey folks, Zach Hubeck with another edition of Airwaves. I've got a great friend and colleague, Bruce Collins, on the line with me from Cambium Networks. Bruce, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Zach, for having me and looking forward to the conversation.
Heck yeah. So Bruce, we're talking about ePMP 4600. Cambium is just constantly innovating, and the industry is super excited about the capabilities of 6 gigahertz. And you guys have come to the market with your ePMP 4600 product. We're going to be talking about all of that within this podcast. But first, we got to tell people who you are. So Bruce, what's your role within Cambium, my man?
All right. Well, I'm a senior director of product line management. I look after a few different product lines like ePMP, which we'll be talking about today, but also our 60 gigahertz CN wave, our licensed microwave, and some of our industrial products. So kind of look after those products and try to make sure I get all that feedback from the field and convey it back to the engineering team as we, evolve these roadmaps.
Awesome. I love it. Well, good segue into roadmap. So as we look at 6 gigahertz, Bruce, what is the roadmap and the plan for Cambium Networks as it relates to 6 gigahertz?
Yeah, so 6 gigahertz is something that's been kind of germinating for a while now, and
Yeah.
we think we're close to the big event when the FCC is going to announce full availability and usefulness of the spectrum. So Cambium has actually two platforms. We're going to talk about the ePMP 4600 in this session,
Yeah.
and that product is shipping today. We have customers around the world using it in 6 gigahertz, and we have many customers using it in the US and Canada with experimental licenses. But that product is, if you're familiar with our point to multipoint products,
Yep.
it's an access point. We have a full-fledged 4x4 access point, and then we have the 2x2, which is kind of its little brother. So we have two levels of access points, and then we have two levels of subscriber modules. So we have a connectorized module, which has the highest performance, and you can put an external dish on it, and you can really get lots of capacity and performance. And then we have a more cost-effective one, which is an integrated dish. The whole idea of the 6 gigahertz product and the 4600 specifically is it's going to really open up a lot of new capacity for WISP operators and network operators. So if you think about being able to offer gigabit per second services or 500 megabit per second services, things that you might not have been able to do because you were sort of interference constrained or channel constrained on 5 gigahertz, it's a whole new game at 6 gigahertz that you can really get after some new capacities and really offer it as a competitor or not really a competitor, but an alternative or adjacent to fiber deployments. So you can kind of keep up with those fiber speeds that are being offered out there with the wireless side.
I love it. Very cool. So Bruce, why don't we talk a little bit about the capabilities of 6 gigahertz and what gets you all excited about it?
Yeah, so 6 gigahertz is a real game changer for the WISP industry and any wireless operators in North America and Canada and the US alike. And it's really because it's 850 megahertz of new spectrum, and it's clean spectrum, low noise floor, and that allows you to do very high speed connectivity, and you can do very predictably because you've got that low noise floor. So we're very excited about this. Is probably the biggest chunk of new spectrum that we've seen probably since 5.4 came out, maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But this is even much bigger than that, and it's a real game changer. It's going to open up a lot of new applications and capabilities where people can go in and compete with fiber and some of the other alternatives that are out there.
Awesome. Fiber-like speeds over the air. That's going to allow our service providers to monetize their network quickly while they're building out their fiber solutions or even compete head-to-head in fiber solutions. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So whether you're offering it as an alternative to fiber or adjacent as an extension of fiber, 6 gigahertz kind of levels up the playing field with the amount of capacity that you can deliver. So
Very cool.
So it's really a big change in the industry, and it's going to allow people to, perhaps offload some of those highly overloaded or highly congested 5 gigahertz sectors. They'll be able to move some of those to this new spectrum. So you take your top talkers, move them to 6 gig, and now it kind of frees up everybody for a little more capacity.
Cool. I love it. So Bruce, I think there's a lot of service providers in the market today that are already using the 4600 with experimental licenses. Talk to us about that and what's some of the results that they're getting.
Yeah, so we've been testing this pretty exhaustively since October of last year. So 14, 15 months at this point, with over
Nice.
100 customers with experimental licenses. And they're seeing gigabit per second services out to a couple of miles. So
Wow.
really significant capacity out over those good distances. And of course, the reliability and stability of the platform, it's leveraging that ePMP platform that's been out there for 10 years and
Yep.
millions of radios that are out there. So it's based on that existing sort of core software infrastructure, but we're moving it into the 6 gigahertz spectrum.
Nice. Now, Bruce, in CBRS environments, we need a SAS. In 6 gigahertz environments, there's something called the AFC, if I've got my facts right. Talk to the folks at home about AFC and what's its role within the 6 gigahertz network.
Yeah, so that's one change with 6 gigahertz is there's something called an AFC, or an automatic frequency coordinator. And really, its sole purpose in life is, some of you may be familiar with, 6 gigahertz has traditionally been a licensed microwave band. So whether you're industrial operators or WISPs or some electric utilities, use 6 gigahertz as licensed microwave. What the FCC has done is said, let's overlay that with some unlicensed spectrum use cases, but protect those incumbent license holders.
Okay.
So what the AFC does is it says, here's all of the license links that are out there and operational today, and I'm going to draw a circle around those and protect those. And then I'm going to say to you, as a new unlicensed 6 gig operator, here's the channels I can use and here's the power level I can use.
Got it.
So it's very simple. The radio just has to check in once a day. It's not
Okay.
as quite as onerous as CBRS, where it's kind of looking at priority access or general access. It's really as simple as, once a day, I'm going to check in and make sure that these are the channels that I'm allowed to use. So we don't see this as a very dynamic environment. It's going to be kind of a static one, but the
Okay.
radios do have to check in once a day.
Got it. And Bruce, with with SAS and CBRS, you guys baked that into your pricing model, made it really easy for partners to manage through Maestro, things like that. Are you doing something similar with AFC for the market?
Yeah, so with the AFC, it's even simpler. The AFC interface is built into the radios. So the ePMP 4600 access point and the 4625 subscriber modules, they all have the AFC interface built in. There's no extra cost for that. There's no subscription fee. It's just built in. The one thing you do have to keep in mind is that it does have to reach out to the internet, to the AFC, once a day.
Okay.
So you will have to build that into your network infrastructure to make sure that those radios can reach out to the internet. The other thing that's important to note is that every radio in a 6 gigahertz network has to have a GPS receiver on it, because that's the way that the AFC knows where you're operating, and it knows how to avoid conflict or interference with an existing licensed microwave holder. So you will have to have an active GPS signal at every radio, both APs and SMs.
Got it. Phone home and tell me where you're at.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. So a lot of moving parts to 6 gigahertz. How is Cambium Networks supporting the industry and making it simpler for folks?
Yeah, I think one of the areas that we talked about, which is putting the AFC right inside the radio, the interface, and having it go connect out to the AFC provider. So we take care of that, and we work with we work with Qualcomm as our AFC provider.
Okay.
And so we have that interface with Qualcomm, and we take care of all that behind the scenes, so that you, as a network operator, you can just power up the radio and it'll go off and connect. You don't have to worry about what's happening kind of behind the scenes with that AFC. The other thing that we've also introduced in the GUI on the ePMP radio, you'll get a nice graphical representation of what channels are available and what power level you can operate at. So when you connect that radio to when you power it up and it connects to the AFC, you get this nice graphical view of what's available there.
All right. I love it. Cool. Well, Bruce, you're not the only 6 gigahertz game in town, my man. That's just the reality of the market and the channel and different manufacturers. Tell folks at home why they should take a look at Cambium.
Yeah, so I think that the key thing with 6 gigahertz is that it is a lot of new spectrum, and it's clean spectrum. So we look at, how do we make this product perform really well when you have lots of clean spectrum. So this product supports very wide channels, and it supports very high modulation. So it can do 1024 QAM modulation, and then even 4096 QAM modulation.
Okay.
And then it can do up to 160 megahertz channels. So you can think really wide channels, really high modulations. You're talking about a couple gigabits per second capacity.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that's important though is it economically scalable? So when we talk about the ePMP 4600 and the 4600L, which is its little brother access point, we want to be able to scale up to very large networks with 100 subscribers per sector, 4 sectors per tower, high density environments. But we just as important is to scale down to those small communities. Maybe it's a subdivision on the edge of town that you want to light up. How do you make sure that it's economically scalable to those small sectors as well as for the large ones? And that's something that we've proven over many, many years with ePMP, and we look forward to really leveraging those inherent platform capabilities now that we have all this new spectrum to play with.
Awesome. Great answer. Cool. So, you're talking to a guy who not only has responsibility for Wave, but also MBSI Wave in Canada. Can you talk to me about a little bit of some of the intricacies by country that you're seeing with 6 gigahertz?
Yeah, it's a great question. The 6 gigahertz is kind of a global phenomenon. We're seeing lots of different countries around the world start to adopt 6 gigahertz, and United States and Canada are really in the forefront of that.
Yeah.
The good news from a platform and product development standpoint is that Canada, or the ISED-C organization in Canada, the equivalent of the FCC, is really using very similar approach to the FCC. So they'll have an AFC. We're working with Qualcomm there as well. Their AFC has already been approved in Canada. And the other thing is you get an extra 100 megahertz of spectrum in Canada. So while it's
Awesome.
850 megahertz of new spectrum in the United States, it's 950 megahertz of new spectrum in Canada.
Love it.
So it'll be just as big, if not bigger, impact in the Canadian market. And we are well underway with, we have, again, experimental license holders operating in Canada. And our friends up at MBSI Wave are working with some of those operators as we start to get ready to roll that out
Awesome.
here after the first of the year.
I love it. Very good. So, Bruce, let's talk about product availability real quick. I know we do have some product in the channel. We at Wave and MBSI Wave have a really healthy backlog. There's a lot of folks in line. When do you foresee this? When you look in the crystal ball, the FCC giving the full blessing and then allowing us to really ship in mass here. When do you foresee that happening, sir?
Yeah, it truly is a crystal ball time, but we're really expecting it here in the next 60 days. I'll say by kind of thinking January, February, if not sooner.
2024, and this is going to be a very timeless. Yeah. This is going to be a very timeless podcast here, my friend. Yeah. So yes, January, February, 2024. Awesome.
Yeah, and really the status of that is with the FCC, we've pretty much completed the radio testing. There's a little bit of work being done in our test labs with the FCC because it is a new band. The FCC is they're more involved in this one, I'll just say, because it's the first time through, and we're one of the first radios to go through the process.
Okay.
So they're looking at that stability of that GPS signal and making sure that the latitude and longitude is accurate and consistent over time. So those are the kind of final sort of nuts and bolts to get this finalized on the radio side. In parallel, the AFCs also go through FCC approval. And they just finished the public notification period back in November. And that was sort of a public comment period. So anybody in the public could comment on results of the AFC. They're taking all that feedback into the AFC manufacturers and going through that. And so really, we do think we're in the final last few steps here. Okay. And things are looking good. There will be, and by the way, the fact you mentioned supply at Wave and MBSI Wave. The factories are humming on this one. We're building lots of product and we're trying to keep up with demand. I know a lot of service providers are taking delivery now with the intent of either putting radios on towers so that they can power them up as soon as the frequency goes live. So this will continue to be a high demand product for the foreseeable future. So really encourage you to reach out to your distributor Wave and let them know what your plans are for 2024, so they can start to forecast and bring in that product and be ready for you.
Just a quick tip of the hat to Bruce and his team. If you're not a Cambium Networks partner today, you're definitely going to want to become one. Take a look at their partner portal. If you do have questions about 6 gigahertz and AFC, they've built a really cool guide that not only has FAQs, but sample network diagrams. It has a ton of information there. If you're confused about this, how do I get into it? How do I future-proof my network? Bruce and Team Cambium Networks have really set you guys up for success. So Cambium partners, check out the portal. If you're new to Cambium and are interested in becoming a partner, please reach out to us, Wave and MBSI Wave. We'll get you guys set up really, really quickly with Cambium. And we look forward to working with you guys on 6 gigahertz projects. Bruce, anything else we didn't discuss that you'd love to?
There's one topic now that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
When we talk about 6 gigahertz, it's going to drive a lot more capacity at the tower.
Oh, yeah.
And what you want to do is you want to use that very efficiently, because your backhaul and access network, you want to kind of maintain sort of that steady flow. So we have a software solution called Quality of Experience, or QoE.
Yep.
And that becomes even more important as you have these higher capacity packages that you're offering. And
Yep.
what Quality of Experience does is it makes sure that each individual user's experience, whether it's getting access to certain streaming services like Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, making sure that they get on their Teams call and have a good experience with that. And that becomes even more important as you have more capacity that you're pushing at the tower, and you're feeding it through that backhaul that you have in place today. You want to make sure that you're optimizing that backhaul to make sure that the service is there. So kind of getting beyond the bits and modulations and all that stuff that goes along with the details of the radio, but really, how do you make sure that you're delivering good quality service and avoiding churn and reducing all those support calls? So really encourage you to take a look at QoE. That's really kind of goes hand in hand with 6 gigahertz.
Beautiful, Bruce. That's a great gotcha. And hey, folks, look at your network from a 360-degree view.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's just Cambium Networks DNA right there, making sure future-proofing, helping service providers really plan and look ahead and anticipate some things. So, Bruce, thank you so much for your time, man. Folks, this has been another edition of Airwaves. Bruce Collins with Cambium Networks. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Great to see you.